Vasishta continued. In this connection, O Ram, I remember an inspiring song sung by the son of the preceptor of the gods, Kacha. This Kacha was established in self-knowledge. He lived in a cave on the Mount Meru. His mind was saturated with the highest wisdom, and hence it was not attracted by any of the objects of the world composed of the 5 elements. Feigning despair, Kacha sang this meaningful song. Pray listen to this. Kacha said, "What shall I do? Where shall I go? What shall I try to hold? What shall I renounce? This entire universe is permeated by the one self." The entire universe is not referring to something out there. The entire universe is what is right here, right now. Because the notion of a universe out there is just simply that, it's a notion. Unhappiness or sorrow is the self. Happiness is the self too, for all desires are but empty void. Having known that all this is the self, I am freed from all travail. In this body, within and without, above and below, everywhere, here and there is only the self and self alone, and there is no non-self. The self alone is everywhere. Everything exists as the self. All this is truly the self. I exist in the self as the self. I exist as all this, as the reality in all, everywhere. I am the fullness. I am the self-bliss. I fill the entire universe like the cosmic ocean. Thus he sang, and he intoned the holy word, Om, which resounded like a bell. He had immersed his entire being in that holy sound. He was neither inside anything nor outside anything. The sage remained in that place, totally absorbed in the self. So this is a song of Kacha. And it's the great realization that after freeing ourselves of all notions, we realize that what is presented to us is no longer an illusion, but the absolute Brahman itself, or what Kacha calls the self. And this is a transforming effect. It allows everything once again to shine in its natural purity. We're no longer concerned with trying to comprehend, with trying to cognize, with trying to explain. It's a bit like being at a party. Imagine going to a party and you can see there's a lot of activity going on, and you start wondering, well, how can you fit in? How can you see people having a good time. How can you have a good time too? There's some attractive people over there, maybe you could go and fit in with them. Oh, and there's all this food and drink on offer, and attractive people, and you're beside yourself trying to figure out how you can make the most of it. So maybe you start sort of categorizing different parts of the party. Well, there's obviously the in crowd over there. That's crowd over there is not so good. Oh, but there's some good food over here. Let's make a list of everything, and you start noting that as the time progresses, certain events happen, and what's happened? What's happened? You got caught up in thinking about the party, and you're no longer appreciating it. You want to appreciate it, you want to get into it, but you've got lost in thinking about it. And this is our normal state. We're trying to pursue some kind of happiness. We construct notions about things, and then we start trying to pursue our happiness in terms of these notions, rather than just think, great party, let's go for it. And this is the realization of Kacha. What shall I do? Where shall I go? What shall I try to hold? What shall I renounce? These are the sort of questions we start asking ourselves if we're caught up in our notions about things, and notions of how we think things are. We don't even need to think about our desires or about following our desires. We just get on with it. And Kacha here describes it as self. And it's obviously not a self in the sense of ego, because ego is a notion. Ego, in fact, we could say, is the creator of these notions. It's the generator of these notions. And when you get rid of that ego, we have this self. And it's good to talk, I mean, it's a bit dangerous talking about self because sometimes it can get confused with ego. But this self, in talking about self, it lays bare our intimate relationship with what is going on. Certainly in the last few centuries in the technological West, we've got used to feeling quite remote from what is going on, and we're seeing everything as mechanical round about us, as cold and aloof, blind forces at work that we somehow have got to navigate. But when everything is realised as consciousness, as a reflection of consciousness, describing it as self is a way of indicating our intimate relationship with what is going on. So self is actually all an expression of what we are at the most fundamental level. I fill the entire universe like the cosmic ocean. The cosmic ocean is that from which everything springs. I am the self-bliss, I am the fullness. There's no incompleteness here. There's nothing lacking. We don't need to be looking for anything. Thus he sang and he intoned the holy word Om. And Om is the cosmic ocean, symbolic of the cosmic ocean. It's that vibration from which everything arises. It's the primordial vibration according to the Hindu scheme of things.